What's going on, guys? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Just going to give everyone a couple minutes to jump on here, and we can get started. We get set up here shortly, guys. Shane Miller, what's going on? Okay. Mike, how are ya? Okay. People are coming on now. Excellent. Jay Togs, how are ya? Okay. Samer, Mayo, how are you guys? I'm just quickly posting. Okay. Mike, what's going on? Yep, gonna be a great week, guys. Just people are trickling on now, guys. Just want to give it a couple of seconds or two here, and we'll get started. Just give everyone a couple minutes to get on, and then we'll get moving and grooving. Should be a nice week ahead of us with some great volatility. So Friday had some opportunities. Then we'll talk through some stuff here, guys. Should be a great session. About 40 minutes as usual. And I'll jump into stuff in a minute. Just quickly make one more post here. Okay, awesome. Okay, people are jumping on now. Excellent. Get started usually around 50, 100 people, but maybe it's Sunday midday, so maybe there's less folks, but we'll get it moving. Paul, Steve, Visions, how are you guys? What's going on? Thanks for joining. Ty, how are you? Excellent. Okay, so I'll just get started. Could always have folks sort of come on in whenever, but should be good for now. Okay, let me just quickly see this, get sorted here. Chris, how are you? Okay, good. Everyone can hear me, it sounds like. Excellent. So I'll just get started. What's going on for those joining? This is mostly just a Discord. I didn't mostly Discord a few stock twits I promoted as well there to guys come on and join. Quick disclaimer: I'm Spud from Spud Zone. I'm not a financial advisor. I trade off technicals, volume analysis, momentum indicators, macro trends that fits my trading criteria. My educational content should not be used as information to buy or sell a security. Obviously, trade at your own risk. Pretty excited about today's session, guys. Here we are, Sunday, December 18th. And a couple topics I thought for today is we're just going to do the usual sort of every other Sunday when we cover the SPY QQQ and Dow Jones from the technical standpoint, where we are on the charts, where we could potentially go in the future, and it's going to be based on price action and charting. So it's obviously been a crazy couple of weeks. Last week we saw a big downward trend and a 2-day push down on Thursday and Friday with pretty heavy selling, almost 9 to 1 on Thursday from out to in. So that was a pretty drastic move down. And then Friday we sort of just had some algos bring us further down. So topic 2, we're going to cover price action. I'm going to talk to two or three specific examples, 2 large cap stocks, 1 small cap stock, just to show you guys the difference in how you may be looking at it / analyzing. And things I look for in the price action. The tape, you always see me referring to a tape, and for me, a tape is, I'll talk through some of that as like an intraday price action. Things are going up, down, what looks strong, what dips are being accumulated, what supports are being taken out, and I'll talk through what I look for in price action in trades. And then topic 3, just going to be the list of watches for the upcoming week. There were some heavy hitter volume pennies last week, sub micro pennies about under $1. There's some really bullish charts sort of in that small cap space. And then there's a ton of craziness going on in large caps and some volume setups, some big volume setups, Tesla, Netflix, and some chart exercises there as well that we'll be discussing earlier on in the session. So there's going to be 3 different topics today. I think the topic 2 for all the new traders, as well as the season sort of vets, can see price action is a big thing, and price action really runs this market. And I'm going to talk through some of that stuff today. I'm going to show you guys what bad price action looks like and what really positive price action looks like. And then I'm going to compare it to what I'm looking at from an index point of view as well. So there's some cool stuff to do today. But first off, obviously we're going to jump into the indexes and see where we are in the technicals. As I mentioned, guys, I've had these lines drawn for about probably almost 10 months now, maybe 11 months. And these are all my resistance points and supports for the SPY, S&P 500. And I haven't even changed them. And it's pretty crazy to see how charts really just play a huge role into how macro traders and really how things are really shaping out and working. I mean, we basically hit 410 on SPY. And it was basically an immediate pivot, like to the penny almost. It's pretty crazy. I mean, look at this. Back in September, we hit 410, and we just went all the way to 350. And here we are again. We got all the way up to 408, 410, and then bang, right off. It was like right on the wick. It's pretty impressive how, like, to my point, like this is why charts sort of just tell me the whole story. And that's how I love to trade. That's how everything's based on the technicals for me. I really don't care for the fundamentals because the price action could be really good or really bad, and that's how I'm going to trade it, long or short. So, obviously I'm a day trader, so I trade what's given to me. And so on this S&P 500, we have resistance right here. I think heavy resistance now at 410, and that's been sort of that's been tested a few times now in the past sort of 18 months here, right? We even tested 410 back in June and faded. We got back up in here, 410 back in September, 3 months later, and faded. And now here another three months later and faded. So now is that a triple rejection? Are we now done for the bullish sort of cycle on the monthly chart, weekly chart? Well, here's a daily picture. 390 was that sort of range we were trading in, 410, 408 to 390. And we traded in that range, guys, for about almost a month here. And right when we broke through it on Thursday's trading session, that's when I, was pretty bearish because I knew 390 was a line in the sand for a lot of those bulls who were riding the hopeful sort of Christmas rally, Santa rally, whatever you want to call it, end of year rally. And once we broke through that 390 plane, guys, we sort of just saw the selling pick up and volume started to come in, and we've dropped probably another 1.5, maybe 2 points on the SPY under 390. Now, technically on the daily here, we have maybe some consolidation, some choppiness down in here in the 370 to 375 range. So that could be potential target to the downside. I would say if we break 380 again, those would be my levels. We could consolidate here and maybe make a little final push into end of the year back to 390. I don't know. We're going to see how tomorrow and Tuesday's price action goes, because if that's continued selling, I'd probably say your holiday rallies maybe off the books if we see more selling today in the futures, overseas, etc. We'll see. If we want to look at the SPY weekly chart, it's actually pretty cool. If you draw a line here, which is, you guys, this is pretty cool. If you draw an extended line, I'm going to get rid of everything. But if you kind of just draw it down through here, right? Let's see. So the top of here on the weekly from all-time highs. I'm going to just get rid of these on the SPY. Actually, no, because I don't want to get rid of them. Those are that's sort of when I put them earlier on the year. If you look at this vertical line, right, just straight down, we're just basically on the top wick here, all-time highs, 470, top wick here, rejected, top wick here, rejected, and then maybe a little choppiness here, but not to the T as the last three were. So it's basically just lower and lower highs. We're getting the V-shaped lower highs, V-shaped lower highs. I'm just waiting for that time where it's just lower highs, and then maybe we just sort of fade, really fade out. And that's where I think you can get that 350, 310, maybe even 280 if things got really bad in the SPY. And 280, as I've been saying for about a year and a half now, is my 280 to 310 zone is when I'd really love to get bullish in equities, U.S. equities. I haven't been bullish at all long term on anything. Everything's been a trade for me, either intraday, maybe a very short multi-day swing on options. But yeah, so those are my levels down here, guys. And this line sort of showing us that we could maybe reject here, and maybe even fade even lower to that 370, 360. that 350 is a big key spot as well. So just keep an eye on the SPY here. It could get a little choppy into January here, and I don't know if we're going to see some selling pressure even further in January. We've had a nice rally, though, from the lows of 350, guys. I mean, that's almost a 20% move off the lows, which is a really, really strong bear market rally. But as you see, we've sort of faded in the last couple of days and gave a lot of that back. So that's the SPY. If we look at the QQQ, I'm not going to go through it. Same thing. A little bit more choppy of a chart. These things are actually even more volatile than the S&P 500, but these are your sort of your mega cap tech names, your high beta risk tech names. Those are all, you have your ARCs in here. You have a ton of stuff in here. So keep an eye on this line in the sand is really that 360 spot where it's bounced a few times, 260 spot, excuse me. But yeah, this also could have some more downside. This is down 26% year to date. So yeah, just keep an eye on QQQ. That's sort of similar with the SPY. But what's outperforming the market, which is pretty incredible, if you guys check out real quick, the Dow Jones. I mean, all-time highs, guys, around almost 37,000. I mean, we're at what, 33,000? I mean, we're not that far off the all-time highs. What is that, 10 or 12%, maybe 8%? It's really nothing. It's not much. So this is really incredible to me because basically either all the money flow has sort of come out of tech, come out of S&P 500 and have gone into the Dow Jones, or you take the contrarian inverse view and say, maybe the Dow Jones hasn't started really selling yet, and those equities within this index could be a bit overpriced. So, you have people taking, I'm really bullish on the Dow Jones, and you have people I see on Wall Street taking the really bearish side on the Dow Jones, and you're going to have this bear versus bull fight with large institutions, and I don't know who's going to win next year, but this is sort of setting up for me around this zone. How much maybe more upside this can get. I feel like there's more opportunity for a downside move, maybe to 30,000, and that's that next level right in here, 30,000. Now I'm looking at a potential downward move, but I don't think I'd really be looking for that until after the new year. That's maybe when I want to start positioning for some potential downside risk in a lot of these companies. These are companies like Deere or Caterpillar, some of those larger industrial names that you guys probably know of. There's a few, so just keep an eye on those names. And I'm going to talk through some of those names later in the session because they're showing strong price action in the last sort of couple weeks. They're not fading with the market with some of the mega cap tech names, your Apples, your Teslas, your Microsofts, your Googles, your Metas, which actually Metas has been outperforming the last week or two. But you get my sense here. So Dow Jones is a very interesting one. COVID lows are all the way down to about 19,000, 18,000, which is basically about 100% off the COVID lows. So there's an opportunity potentially for some downside, but as I said, those strong names in that index need to go down, and they've seem to be bidded up lately, which I'm going to talk through. So that's just topic one, guys. We're going to cover just where we are in the charts, where we can go. I always like to prep for like 10, 15, 20 minutes before every single week and see where the sort of resistance are, where the supports are, because it's really helpful, right? So last week, when I did the SPY, right, for example, right, I knew that 390 was sort of that line in the sand, right? And once we broke the SPY 390, it was almost like a button or like a light switch went off in my head saying, okay, I can go short now because I know that's such a technical pivot point for market makers, for large funds, for macro traders, for technical traders like myself. And when I saw the 390 break with some nice serious size, I knew we could go lower. And we went all the way down to 381. So basically a $9 move, $9 move from the 390 break. So if you missed everything the last few weeks and just sort of chop, but you waited for the 390 break, you could have easily made money to the downside because of that technical level being broken. And so that's what I look for in a trade, a nice, for me, a nice conviction trade setup here based on purely technicals alone in the broader indexes. And so that was the SPY, guys. Hopefully that's helpful. These sessions are really helpful for me because then I get to say, okay, I know maybe this can bounce here. Maybe this can fade here. Maybe this can pop here. Maybe this could be a great short here. So that's how I use these sessions as well with the technicals. So I want to jump into a price action because a lot of people are always like, Spud, how do you decipher? How do you determine what strong price action looks like or what sort of negative price action looks like, right? And so that's sort of, for me, is I'm going to show you guys, let me see here, what's going on. trying to, okay. Usually it just bounces back here. Okay, I'm going to show you guys basically the chart of Tesla. Just a comparison into SPY, okay? And I'm going to show you guys the 15-minute charts, and I just want to show you an example. We're going to go back to Thursday's session, so if you're following along with me here, okay? And I'm going to show you, this is an example of Tesla outperforming the broader market intraday, and intraday meaning the same day, right? And I'm going to talk through this, okay? So on the left here, you're going to see the SPY. You're going to see the SPY on the left, okay? On Thursday at 9:30 when the market opened, what happened is pretty crazy. So at 9:30, you're going to see, I'm going to highlight some of this. I'm going to get rid of these bars real quick for you. At 9:30, right in here, right? Okay. 9:30 a.m., the SPY was at about 394, okay? Actually, 395 closer to. And we just sort of flushed, right, a huge candle at the open, a half a point down in the SPY, 5 million shares. Next one, 5 million shares. We even went down further. We got a tiny little cap bounce, and then we just kept selling. And we just sold off all day to about maybe 3 p.m., okay? So that's the SPY. So that's underperform. That's just selling off the market. Now, you look at Tesla. What happened on Thursday at 9:30 in the morning is you got almost a 20 million, 19 million shares on almost a 4% clip. Huge green candle out of the gates. That's a 1.5-minute, and this is a 15-minute move. So this thing flew out of the gates, and that clearly shows to me, right, that there was huge buy zone demand at $1.52, $1.53. Now that could be a lot of short covering. That could be new buyers coming in. That could, this could be a whole lot of nonsense going on. This could be just look too cheap, expecting a bounce. There could be a ton of different things that happen in that first 15, 30 minutes. I always like to say I don't like to trade the first 30 minutes of any market open because it's always sporadic volume and you can't really get a true depiction of what's going to happen that day within the tape or the price action itself. But to show you, right, SPY just sort of crashed out of the open from 394 and faded all the way to 387s, right? All morning, the SPY just faded all morning, no bounces. Whereas Tesla ripped up at the gate, and didn't fade. It tried to fade. It kept trying to fade, and then algos just kept picking it up. And it was hovering between like 1 or 2%, between flat / 2% gains the entire day until we got basically to like 2 or 3 p.m. And then we sort of closed strong as well at 4 p.m., right? So Tesla consolidated above its low of the day in pre-market at $1.52 and consolidated almost around 158 to 160. On major volume, almost double the average volume. So to me, Tesla said to me, hey Spud, like my price action is strong today. That's how I read it, right? That's how I read price action on Tesla on Thursday. It's strong because the market's selling off and Tesla's not selling off down the new 52-week lows with it. So then I said to myself, maybe it's bottom for now. Maybe tomorrow we bounce 2-3%. No. So the market then sells off the next day, which was sort of bizarre. 9:30, we see some rips, and then a total fade again. This big candle sort of just killed the market, and we faded off all day, and we saw some covering into close and maybe some new buyers into close, hoping for a potential short, maybe short bounce this Monday or this week, right? So we went all the way down to 381 on the SPY, and that was from the 394 break, right? Tesla said, okay, we have really strong price action Thursday. The volume was really high. And then Friday comes, and now we have an 11 mil candle down. Then another followed by a 5 mil, then a 7 mil, then 6 million shares. We had a 1, 2, 3, 4. We had a 5 candle raid down from 160 per se, 160.99, all the way down to 152 in 15, 30, 45. In 1 hour, we went from 160 to 152. That's like a 5-6% move, just fully rejecting. And so for me, I was confused because Thursdays was such strong price action on big volume, strong volume day. And then they just said,
just gave it all back on another strong volume day. So to me, Tesla is just extremely violent right now. It doesn't know which way it wants to go. It's been a fader the last 3 or 4 weeks. It has underperformed the market. And I'm looking for a potential day where maybe this bottoms or maybe this continues to sell off. And so it's going to be very interesting. And I think the make or break for Tesla's ticker and sort of price action this week is where we go this week. And I think that's going to determine on what's going to happen in this stock. And, if we look at the larger picture of Tesla, if we go to the big screens and we take a look at the daily chart, these are my lines from Tesla, guys. So currently we're in that gap. I said I think if 185, 190 can't hold for a few days or a week, we could really fade to the 150s, 140s, 130s. I know a lot of folks probably called me crazy, but I was just reading the chart. And so once we broke this 185, you guys see this double tick here? Back in May, back in March, Tesla hit a low of 185 and bounced every time. Big bounces. Look at these bounces, right? This is all the way back from 2021. Big bounces off 185, and we broke through the 185 this time around, guys. So that's why I said, okay, we might be in this gap phase now, a trading range of 182 all the way down to the 130s, and for me, I think if Tesla gets into the 130s, 140s, that could trigger maybe a short-term cap bounce buying opportunity for maybe a 5, 10, 15% trade setup. I think there's a lot of choppy and sort of buyers down in here in the 130s. And that's where I potentially might look to take a stab on this chart is that 130 mark. 134, 135. Maybe if you get dabble in the 140s, depending on how the broader market's doing. But we're in that gap. You see my horizontal lines? We're just below the double bottom, triple bottom supports where we broke out in 2020, 2021. And now we're sort of getting, guys, back into that 2020, 2019 levels in here. So you got to be careful. This has been a fader. There could be some end-of-year selling pressure here. But I'm looking at that 135 mark as a key potential pivot point if we get down there that low. As I said, we could pop tomorrow, could pop Tuesday from the 150s back to 158, 160 resistance. But that key break to the upside is about $160 right now. And then obviously the key break downside is about 150, 152. So we'll see if we get below that this week or if we get above that this week. But Tesla's going to have a lot of range, I think, over the next coming weeks. I said this on a few sessions ago. I think Tesla's going to be choppy, which it was, and then I think we're going to see a big move up or down. And right now the move is sort of telling me down. It's down about, what is this, the daily chart? We had a 2% move and then down about 7 or 8%, guys, in 3 sessions. So, that's a strong move. It could continue down to this horizontal line, and that's where I'm watching for potential trade idea on ticker Tesla, TSLA. Hopefully that's helpful there. That's what I'm showing you guys what price action looks like. So, right, Thursday was really strong price action on Tesla versus the broader market. And then Friday, Tesla performed with the broader market of just straight down. Okay? So that's what I look for intraday. What's performing strong? What's performing weak? Now I want to go through another example of negative price action. Ticker Tesla. Ticker Netflix. Okay? So we saw on the daily chart, right? I'm going to go to the 15-minute chart, okay? So Netflix, on Thursday morning, there was some report on giving AdCom money back or something like that. Some analyst downgrades, tons of heavy selling from the gate. All right, so from pre-market news came out about here, 8 a.m., bang. Start to sell out 8 a.m. all the way into the 9:30 open, which the stock was at around 302, 301. And then we just started candles down out of the gate with some volume, okay? We sort of got a little cap bounce here to 296, and then we just faded the whole rest of the day. So, right, we see a breakdown, we see a cap bounce, people try and time the bottom, maybe you get a little press back up, we get rejected again, lower highs, rejected again. Once we then break this plane, we break this plane. Once we break the 290, sellers just came in more, and we really broke down all the way to like 287, 86. So there was a ton of opportunity downside from here, from 930, from 3, all the way down to 286. So if you're trading this, sort of like I'm looking to trade this, if you're getting in here, you're just putting your stop on the short side, maybe around your entry. So it just fades down. You move the stop down with the ticker selling off. You just keep moving it down. That's how I'm trading this, right? And then maybe when you get the pop, bang, I'm selling out. I'm taking my gains from this move all in there. Now, if you're trading it via options, right, you're maybe trying to buy puts, putting the stop loss around your entry, and then maybe, trickling down, moving that stop up with the options. And that's how I'm trading the options on a name like this as well. Same thing versus if you're going to the upside, right? Same thing equates if you're going to the downside. So Netflix, that's another bad price action example, okay? That's on the 15-minute chart. Now I want to look through a small cap name, which is just, to me, this was just insane on what happened on Friday. I haven't been trading much small caps at all this year. It's sort of just been dead. It doesn't meet my trading criteria this year. Not enough volume. Liquidity's been bad. There's been no follow through or continuation. So I haven't really been trading much small caps. Been focusing on large cap equities and options. But this was a name Friday was bizarre to me. I woke up at 7 a.m. I hit the alarm, checked the pre-market action. I know this name had a reverse split, so I was watching to see if anything happened. I watched this thing go from like $6 or something wild. Let's look at this pre-market thing, guys. This is like wild. I don't even know if it's this is COSM, guys. COSM, whatever, however the hell you want to say it. 7 a.m. This was at like 40 cents, and it dropped from like $6. Yes, 580 right here, right? It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. 150,000 shares. I don't know. There was a lot of stories going around, I think, all over the place on media, like did brokerages mess this up? Was there not a reverse split in effect? So I think there was some people had trouble buying or selling the security. So I saw these and I'm like, oh, I'm not touching this thing. This is crazy. I tried bidding on Webull and Fidelity around 7:15 in the morning at about 45 cents on this name, and it ran to $23. And my broker just wouldn't even let me trade the security. So, that to me was a red flag. I'm like, I'm going to try and stay away from this. I don't want to get stuck in this. I was going to do tiny size anyway. But so then this thing kind of just kept going. But I wanted to show an example of what strong price action looks like. And I thought, a lot of folks like to see small cap stuff. So I'm going to show you what like a good sort of baseline is for this name, okay? And sort of what strong strong price action looks like. This name, I think, traded around 150 million shares. I wrote it down. Maybe not. 150 million shares on Friday. So that's incredible liquidity. That's the range. That's the liquidity I like to look for. When I take a trade, guys, I look for three things. First thing, has to have major volume. If the trade doesn't have major volume, to me, it's an automatic X. I don't trade it. Second thing I look for a ticker, any ticker, this is large cap, small cap, options, etc., needs liquidity, right? That's the first thing. Second thing I look for is called range gap percentage. That to me is sort of a personal preference. What that means is that the ticker itself, right, small cap, large cap, option, etc., has a lot of range. It's moving up or down in a fast-paced environment. That's typically intraday. So anything that's moving, right, moving fast up or down, that is what I like to see with volume, because that for me shows me as a day trader, as a volatile day trader, long or short, I can get in and out and make a great percentage gain going up or down. And then the third thing for me is having stop losses in place. I always say to new traders, new students that come within and join our platform is, stop loss, picture it this way. Stop loss for me is like, you need car keys to drive your car, right? For me to be able to place a trade, I need to have a mental or physical stop loss in the game for me, because the most important thing in trading is not winning or losing. It's keeping your capital. And so if you're trading for 5 or 10 minutes or seconds or hours or days or months, whether you're a day trader, swing trader, momentum trader, whatever the heck you want to call yourself, that end of the day is risk management, right? Having that stop loss in place. And for me, I only trade technicals. So if I enter a stock, I'm going to have targets already in my head that I'm going to be targeting based on the chart technicals to the upside or downside. I'm going to have stop losses in place that are going to protect my capital in case the trade doesn't work out. 40-50% of the time, I'm going to probably lose a trade. It's trading. It's bound to happen. No one's perfect. If you're following a trader and they go 10 for 10 perfect every single day, every single week, every month, every year, that's not real. It's not real life. The best traders in this world, the best traders who are authors of books are probably winning 40, 50, 60% of their trades. But what makes them special and magical is they can take, they can take losses more quickly, and they know when to hold their losses, and they know when to hold their winners and let their winners run a bit. And that's what separates really good traders from average traders. And so when we're looking at the COSM chart, this is 5 minutes. I like to trade the 5-minute candles, guys, which you guys know. I'm just going to start from a random point in the chart. Maybe you missed the whole morning. This thing was at, let's see, $5. This is also when I looked at around lunchtime. I didn't end up trading this ticker because, as I said, the brokerage issues. I didn't want to get involved on this stuff. But I'm just showing this from a price standpoint, right? $5, right? We had a nice little base in here. We then ripped on a couple candles up. We then consolidate, rip to new highs, right? So that to me is showing, okay, this is strong price action. And I always say this, the staircase to heaven. I always say to new students, new traders, and obviously experienced traders on our platform, the staircase to heaven. It's called the ABC sort of format for me. If it goes higher highs, okay, then we consolidate at higher highs. Bang, we see new highs, new HOD breakout, right? Okay, well, profit taking, consolidate. Bang, new HOD rip, right? New high of day rip again. Okay, consolidate. Then we get bang. Then we get a little five candle squeeze action. So all day long, this kept going up, consolidate, up, consolidate, up, consolidate, up, consolidate. Then we started to hit what I call the range gap percentage. And as I said, I did not trade this. I'm just studying the chart for 20, 30 minutes today, showing you guys what really strong price action looked like intraday. Then we see the volume start to tick up, $1.5 million per candle, right? So now we're trading $8 to $10 million every 5 minutes. Liquidity is now getting stronger, right? Now we're seeing 2 million shares. Now we're seeing $15 million traded every 5 minutes, right? So now we're seeing even bigger money coming in, pushing this thing higher. Is this a short squeeze? Probably. This is probably, when you see these big green candles, this is a short squeeze. So if you bought in the 4 5s down here, you now made 100, 200%. In a couple hours, you're probably going to start to see some profit taking in here where it's now going to start to get maybe a little bit choppy. So now you probably see people saying, oh, probably you got guys, penny crunchers coming in here saying, I'm probably going to go short at 10, 11, 12s. So now you see heavier volume trying to short in here, I'm sure. Then we consolidated again on the 5-minute chart and we saw a crazy candle up, 22%. Then we just kept squeezing in the last hour of close. And this thing went absolutely banana land in 1 hour. This thing went from, 15. We went from $12. Actually, the low of this wick was 3 p.m. We went from 10 to 23.70, guys, in 60 minutes. 60 minutes, 1 hour. We went from 10.40 to 23.70, and 130% in just 60 minutes on major volume. So that to me showed super strong price action. Anywhere in here, as a day trader in momentum, right? If I'm trading the momentum off the technicals, right? I'm trading the technicals. I'm moving my stop up with the ticker. I'm probably selling this first FOMO-ish right in here. I'm probably looking to buy in here and sell into the FOMO. Not knowing that, of course, as trading, you don't know what the future predicts. You only have the technicals to predict that and the price action to predict that. Not knowing you get this crazy FOMO squeeze in here. I'm probably selling in here and missing all the upside. But guess what? I can't look back on trades, right? So if I took the trade in the 4 5s, which I did not, as I said, I did not trade this ticker all morning, afternoon because of the brokerage issues in the morning that I saw people having, and myself, I could not buy or sell the equity in Fidelity and Webull, so I just stayed away from it. But if you're buying in here, my rule is I love to sell when everyone's saying, and everyone has FOMO. And you can see the FOMO within the tape. I'm not even talking FOMO on all that social media crap. I'm talking like FOMO within the tape itself in here. And you can see this, I got to get in. Oh, chase. Everything's chased in here with major volume. That's when typically I'd like to scale out of things and take profits. And this is a really good example of just a monster strong price action chart, right? Way different than what I just showed you guys on Netflix and Tesla, which were bearish price actions, right? So Netflix was bearish going down, while this is what sort of a positive price action looks like on intraday, right? These are all intraday. Now, after hours, I was very impressed by the move down on very little volume. We sold probably between, looks like maybe 8 p.m. to, let's see, guys, 8 p.m. to 5 p.m. And what is it, 60, 100, 200, I don't know, was that 300, 400? Maybe like 400,000 shares from 5 to 8. Drop this thing like another, 50%? That seems a little crazy and extreme to me. So this will be a watch on Monday. And maybe I'd look to trade it short or long here based on technicals. And that would be based on if my brokers are letting me trade it. But I think, you probably will see some opportunity and some volatility here on this name. As I said, short or long. You have a nice support level around the 6s. You got one here at around $8. You have another sort of resistance or support around 11.50. And then you have a big support here around 3. and Fore. So there's some downside levels, and then you have some upside levels here based on Friday's action. But this was pretty crazy Friday. I mean, if you count that 30-cent move down here from 30 cents all the way to $23, what is that? 10,000%? Do I have that right? 10,000, 1,000%. From 30 cents would be what? 1,000% for $3. So 3, 6, 9. Yeah, probably like almost 7,000%, 8,000%. That's insane in one day. That's just insane. That's insane. So, keep an eye on this name, CSOM. That's an example. This is an example of price action, and that I'm gonna stop there for this name. But that is also one of the weekly watches as well. That's topic 3. We're on topic 2 via price action. So hopefully that's helpful. Is this session helpful so far, guys, with the TA stuff? Just posting the comments on the right side. Just want to make sure you guys are obviously learning a ton and walking through the charts and stuff. I obviously love to prep for all these meetings, and I just want to make sure you guys are getting the most out of it. So if you just want to post in those comments, it's great. As I prepare here for topic number 3. So we've talked through the SPY, Dow Jones, QQQ, the broader indexes, where we are in the charts, where we are in seasonality. We have end of year tax harvesting. We have portfolio painting, where people want to be in certain names to show clients for the end of the year. We have people, as I said, taking major losses for the end of the year just to show. You have people putting on new positions and not positions for next year. So there's a lot going on, right? You have people taking profits from certain positions. So there's a lot going on within the end of year seasonality. Algos are typically strong this time of year, but we've seen some really bad push downs the last couple sessions. So, we went through the SPY, QQQ, Dow Jones. Then we went through Netflix, Tesla, and Cosm for bearish and positive price action. And that's what I'm looking, right? That's what I'm looking at intraday. And then we touched on my 3 rules for trading, which are liquidity is the first thing I look for before I take any trade. Is there a ton of liquidity? Is it trading millions on millions and millions of dollars, if not billions on dollars intraday? That's what I'm looking for first. Second is I'm looking for range percentages, whether that's a ticker flying to the downside, halting down, and I could go short, or whether that's a ticker flying to the upside and I could go long or buy calls, etc. And then the third is the risk management, right? If you ever enter a trade, for me, my number 1 rule is having a stop loss, because I care more about my capital than me risking on a very fast moving trade. And so the stop loss is crucial for me, because I know if it breaks a certain point for me, that's where I hang up the flag. And then same thing going forward, right? If my entries and things are going upside, I want to not be greedy. I want to maybe scale out, take some off the table, let my winners run a little bit, right? Because that's where you really start to perform and excel as a trader, is when you let your winners run a little bit, move that stop loss up. So that's how, those are my 3 rules. Those are my 3 rules in trading for looking for a trade. And then we're going to go into topic 3 here, which is basically just the weekly watches this week. And it's going to be a little different. Some people are asking for like high volume, small cap stuff. And, obviously I always do large caps every session. So I'm definitely going to be looking at some small caps this week, just based on some of the craziness Friday. Maybe it heats up into end of year. I've always said, I think I posted back in October, November, that small caps could have a crazy December potentially. So we've seen some sort of mega movers. Friday was a mega mover that I missed and didn't trade on, but I'll be looking for some opportunities this week. So I want to talk through some high volume names that I sort of relative volume and strength. Not that they don't actually check the box for range percentage. But the first name I saw the volume, of course, was CSOM. You guys saw ticker MULN, Mullen. I know this is like a sort of an EV battery truck company, whatever it is. This Mullen name is very interesting. It's a huge float. I don't know if they're doing an RS or anything, but they're trading at around 30 cents here on the dollar. Mullen's traded 1.3 billion shares in just 3 days. 1.3 billion shares. That's an obscene amount of liquidity for a stock that trades at about 30 cents, 33 cents here. So this is a name I want to watch, because there seems to be a lot of money in and out of this name. And that just can't just be algos. That seems really, really strong to me in terms of the liquidity here. 1.3 billion shares in 3 sessions is quite impressive. And so that's a name I want to be always having, sort of watching the tape, because of how much money is exchanging hands on its ticker name. So that's Mullen. Not really going to go through the charts here, because it's just so beat up down in, like, I call this like the flush penny land. I mean, anything below 40, 50 cents to me is like typically not typically a no touch, but Lately, everything's being shorted to oblivion, and companies are going bankrupt, and a lot of small caps are having trouble raising cash. So you're seeing a lot of names really sell off and really sort of really hit that gap down. And so, I'm looking at this name. You have some strong resistance here around 33 cents. If you can get a breakout above 33, 35, 36, you have a really nice gap up into the 50 cent range, guys. So that could be 40, 50, 60% mover. If we clear that 38, 40 cents, we could see maybe a nice double top retest in here. But as I said, it's traded $1.3 billion, 1.3 billion shares, in 3 days here. So maybe 1.4 billion shares. Wow. In just the last 3 sessions. And it hasn't really moved. It hasn't had much range. So that would, to me, was a little weird. With so much volume, it just wasn't moving. So it wasn't really my top play, right? Because if it was really moving, I'd be all over this name. I want to be involved because there's so much liquidity. But I'm just not really seeing any range on this name. The liquidity checks the box. The range doesn't check the box. Therefore, my risk management third step would not come into this trade yet. But I'll be watching it this week. Maybe there'll be some range or volatility there on that name, MULN. The next one I saw after hours was up, CEI. This thing looks like it's absolutely been just sold off a cliff here. The chart is really disgusting. I think there's an RS sometime this week or next. Didn't really look at any of the details. I'm just looking at the price action and volume. The past couple of days, we had just normal 25, 30, 40 million shares traded, which is pretty good liquidity on a stock trading at 8 cents. And then Friday, we had 204 million shares traded with a huge green candle here. The biggest green candle since, looks like early 2022 in March. So there, to me, tells me that there was either a lot of bullish demand or buy zone pressure, or maybe a lot of short covering algo moves here. I'm not sure, but CEI will be a name I'm watching this week just because of, you had 30 million, 25 million, 48 million, then bam, 4x the average volume on a Friday. And this thing, I think, skyrocketed in after hours. Yeah, wow, this flagged all the way up in after hours to 9 cents. So this is a name I'll probably have on the radar this week. So those are 3 micro penny names. This fits my micro volume heavy penny names criteria. So that's CSOM, CEI, and Mullen. These are big volume names that I'm going to be just have on the tape this week in case you may see some range percentage, or I could jump in, maybe make a couple bips here and there going up or down. So those are my volume names. My chart names in terms of daily bullish engulfing charts for 3 more small cap names. Ticker GAME, GAME. What I mean by that is I like to call my bullish sort of daily charts as a 3-wick top. And you get a 1-wick, 2-wick, 3-wick, and we're sort of full into this gap here. And, as I said, I have no positions in any of this. I only day trade this stuff. I typically, 95% of the time, I'm never holding anything overnight. So I'm looking at these trades. This is a nice daily chart. Volume starting to, it hasn't really picked up at all. It's not liquid enough yet for me, really. It would be just a day trade. It seems a little overbought on the 3 or 4 day. Maybe pulls back a bit, but there is a gap fill on ticker GAME all the way up to about 220, 2 to 220. We close at about $1.50, and we're above the double top here back in early 2022. So I'm going to keep the lines for you guys from a learning perspective. A horizontal line, we get a 1 top, 2 top. And what that top means, guys, for me, is this shows resistance levels, okay? So when a ticker is trading above a resistance level for a period of time, so let's say maybe Monday consolidates, maybe Tuesday comes down, Wednesday comes down, but it's holding above this line, to me that's still in a bullish phase. And the next leg for this name maybe potentially could be all the way up in here, which would be around 2. So if you close at about $1.58, and maybe you could get 20, 30, 40% higher on this move up into the 2s. So that's a name I'm watching. Obviously, these are not strong watches. These are just scanner moves where I'm looking at, okay, what's a bullish daily engulfing chart? And these are sort of, I have 3 names for you here just to keep on the radar because they're showing signs of pushing up each day. So you had 20%, then 21%, then 8%. So that's a 50% move in 3 days, which is really nice for a trade. As I said, the liquidity is not necessarily there yet for me. It's trading about 1 million shares, so about $2 million a day. So I'm watching that, but as I said, the other 3 names prior, the CEI, COSM, Mullen are trading major heavy-hitting type volume the last few days. So those are my more close watch because of the liquidity itself. The next ticker is BYSI. This had a really big breakout Friday. I think this is a tad bit overbought here because we've had a 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 day, 6 days in a row of just monster gapping up. And this ticker's up from the lows from about 60 cents, let's say, round up, all the way to $2. So, 120, 180. It's up a little over 230%. And this one sort of just rejected right at the daily chart, guys, at the 220 here. We've just sort of stopped, almost just stopped. You see how charts are just so important and crucial in trading now? It just shows you, right? I just randomly bring up this ticker that's been on a tear on the daily chart, and it just sort of hits a wall here at around 250, almost to the penny. Back in, what was this, April, March? So 6 months ago, this hit a wall at 260, 250. It's right where we sort of ran into trouble here on Friday. So, charts are really, they really can tell the story of where things can go and where they can stop or where they can move to. So for me, that key break for me would be about 250. As I said, this is a bit more overbought for me. But given it's gapping up so quickly, I got to just maybe keep it on the back burner just for a watch. Could be some potential short opportunities maybe here, maybe even some long opportunities on some dips. But I'll be watching this name this week. As I said, volume's starting to pick up a bit more, 25 million Friday, whereas it was a million, under a million in the last couple sessions. So volume's for sure picking up. If you break out of the 260 zone here, let me put in the line, guys, for learning purposes. If you break out of this top here, maybe hold for a few days, and then we see a major push. The next push would be maybe to about 320s. So as I said, this is a name where it has a nice daily chart, but I would not, I'm probably not looking to trade this one this week because of how fast it's gapped up and via the technical. So for me, there's not much upside here maybe unless you really gapped up to like the 5 resistant line. That would be double money from here. And there's some strong resistance points coming up closer to that in the 2s and 3s before you even get to the 5. Whereas the setup I just showed game actually had a little bit better of an intraday set or a short-term setup. This one's a little bit tighter in terms of how many resistances we're running into. So that's BYSI. So we went through game, BYSI. These are daily charts that are engulfing. And I want to talk through a China name. This is not a small cap name. This is about, I guess it is considered small cap in my criteria. It's about 800 million market cap here, guys. This one's been breaking through. So we actually, this name is a chart that I'm liking really much actually here. So I'm going to watch this chart, right? So we have, back in 2021, this was at about 250 a share, double top here in resistance. And we just cranked through that on some big volume, 17 million shares, 25 million shares. And this thing looks like it's full steam ahead. It closed at highs on Friday. The next resistance point for me would be around here. Just going to show you guys. This is an interesting one. I'm going to be watching this one this week as well. You also have to realize how far this one's come down. So if I look at the weekly chart, for example, guys, this name was trading in the 80s, hundreds, 80s, hundreds. So, I mean, this name is, when you compare it to maybe 2021, 2021, this was $100 a share. I mean, was it overvalued there? I'm sure. I know nothing about this business. I'm just looking at the chart. So if I look at the daily chart here, as I said, the lines, my next level for this chart would probably be about, the fill would be maybe to about 336, and we closed at 312. So as I said, not much upside technically here, but if we can get above this phase of sort of the 410s, 420s, that's a nice 30-40% move from here. So that would be a nice move to see. And if you get above the 450 line here, guys, I would call that, we're in gap mode. There is a huge gap from 950 to 450. And this is ticker GOTU. I would keep an eye on this one because volume is really starting to pick up here the last few sessions. And it's come down a whole lot from the 80s, 90s. I'm not saying we're getting there, but from a gap perspective, from a technical analysis perspective, there's a gap from 9 to 450 here. And 420, 430 would be the big key break. So we'll see if we reject here this week or we just continue higher into the 4, 5, 6, 7s. So keep an eye. That's ticker GOTU, ticker GOTU. That's going to be one of my top watches this week. And it is a China name. So it will be a day trade. I do not overnight China names unless I'm trading options where my risk in options is fully defined. Therefore, meaning I can only lose what I'm betting on in options. So therefore, this could be a name you could play in options. I do think they have options. Let me quickly check. I think this name does probably have. Let's see. Does have options. Obviously the implied volatility is pretty high. I'm looking at. It looks like it's monthly options. But yeah, a lot of call hitters on this name at the 4s. A lot of call hitters on this name in the 10s. Wow. Yeah, some good volume here on this name. So I'll be watching this one this upcoming week. That's ticker GOTU. And then the last 3 large caps. So we went through Game, BYSI, Go-To Loser, Daily Chart, and Golfing. And then we went through the 3 heavy hitter volume sub pennies, which were Cosm, CAI, and Mullen. Major volume tickers. And then the 3 large cap names I want to talk through this week is Netflix. As I said, I posted you guys this chart when we were up here before we knew what happened on Thursday, Friday. At 3:30, I alerted a short opportunity, and I alerted long puts for January. And this was a name I studied for a few hours, and we filled this gap fill here, which was the last earnings report, and this was probably one of my better calls of the year. I lost on a lot of trades this past week or two, but this was a trade that really helped out my accounts here for some upside and sort of holding through some of the bad trades I took over the last few weeks. And this was a great trade setup because it really filled that gap to 330 on a technical standpoint. And therefore, everyone is break even. So if you were buying the 330s, 340s, 350s, 360s, and this thing dropped a 50% on you in like a month, now you have an opportunity. This rallied 100% off the lows. You have an opportunity as a large investor to get out with free money and or take a small loss. And so people are taking advantage of that opportunity in here. And it just got heavy right here. 330, 330, 330, just kept rejecting. And so finally, I just bought some puts for January in the 330 at the 300 strike, and we got a beautiful move on Thursday, just an 8%, 9% gap down. It was gorgeous. But I still think this name's in some potential trouble. We have a gap fill down to 280, 279 mark in here. And if it really starts to sell off, my final target would be about 250. I don't necessarily see if you're going to see that end of year, but 280 still on the table maybe this week or next if we start to see more selling pressure. Now keep in mind there was a strong candle here off of 280, so you could see some buy demand and maybe a retest of 300. So if you are short, maybe wait for a long wick here to the upside. And this is a name I'd try and play through puts, not actually risking equity or long or short on this one. Therefore, as I mentioned, I could define my risk. I only lose what I put in. Next ticker is Tesla. I'm going to go through that chart. I just walked through it. We're in the gap, guys. We're in the daily gap. We're down. I've been waiting a while. I've been probably waiting about 2 years to hit this gap down, and we're finally here, as I mentioned earlier on in the session. We're in the gap zone phase. These are my charts. This is my gap. The gap is 185 all the way down to 135. That's a strong 20% gap. And just look at the chart, guys. It's kind of screaming. It's screaming I'm going lower, and I just haven't seen that bottom bounce candle wick where it's like, boom, 5% pop on the daily, and it's like, okay, that was the bottom. We're just seeing new lows, new 52-week lows Friday. We're sold off into after hours continuing. I don't know if Monday, Tuesday is going to be more selling. We get to the 140s. So keep an eye on this one this week. Another name with a lot of volatility and range both ways. The last one is Apple. A little hesitant here. I originally called for a $135 down from the 150 line, and we actually rejected 150 nicely here, and we rejected down to 135. And so that was a nice trade setup here. Now, Apple has a really strong support, guys, at about a $133, $134, or maybe even a little lower, maybe a $130. But if we break below 130, guys, kind of watch out below. I'm going to move this chart, and this would be the gap for Apple. All in here, which would be from $100 a share to 130. And that's a 30% move potentially. So I'm not saying you're going to get there tomorrow. I'm saying that if we can't hold above 130, 135 zones for a week or two, this could be a name sort of like a Tesla that maybe has some more downward pressure into the 120s, even the 1 teens. So keep an eye on Apple. As I said, it is the darling of Wall Street. Everyone loves it. Every fund's in it. There's billions and billions and billions of dollars that trade daily on this name. It's one of the best performing option contracts name in terms of liquidity. So there's huge traders. There's huge funds. There's monster moves and block buys and block sells in this name. So you gotta watch it, and charts really do play off this name. So it's a lot of algo run based macro stuff on this one. So keep an eye. This is sort of that dead bottom for me, $1.30. You break below 130, and I think you could see 120s fast. And so if this breaks below 130, I'd probably try and tackle some puts for the downside. Okay, that's Apple technicals, guys. Hopefully that's really helpful for everyone. And yeah, that's it for today's session. I'm curious to see sort of everyone's comments and maybe I could probably go through a couple questions here for another 5-7 minutes or so. That would be about a full hour. I know we're a little over time. I apologize. I spent some more time on the price action piece because I know you guys really wanted to see that stuff. If you guys just put some in the right column, was this session helpful, or you guys, if you have any questions to ask from some of the charts I showed or technical analysis? Obviously, this is how I do my technicals over the years. I fully trade off of technicals. It's sort of like my study book, right? I can't trade unless I don't feel confident in a move that's going to happen up or down, and that's all based on the charts for me. Yeah, hopefully that's really helpful. If you guys could throw on some questions, I can maybe do 5, 6, 7 minutes in Q&A. There's a lot of folks on the line here. And if you are looking to join the Discord, we have thousands of members and students. It's a great trading Discord. You could click it. My tech team will post it in the bottom right link. Really smart traders in there. We have a ton of folks posting great sort of content and ideas daily. And, we're all here to navigate the markets together. There's tons of volatility here. These are really great opportunities. 2020, 2008, 2000.com bubble, 1970s. When a lot of people obviously have lost a lot of money in those times when the markets crash, but when markets crash, there's also a ton of opportunity on the downside to make some money. So as a trader, I don't care if the markets go to zero. I don't care if the markets go to the moon. I'm just trying to scalp each day in between. It just takes a small haircut off that stuff. So, as I said, I'm a day trader, so just looking for opportunities. So if you guys want to share some quick questions, I will jump on here in the comment section. Let's start with Mike Trades. Great information. Thank you for taking the time to put this all. Oh, no problem, Mike. I really enjoy these sessions. We've gotten thousands of comments and positive feedback over the years on these sessions, so just want to continue doing them for everyone because I think they do help, and it's a great study tool, and those who put in the work end up being really successful, so you just got to keep studying, plugging away. Madlad USA, was it quad witching on Friday, wasn't it? Yes, it was. I believe there was $4 trillion in excess option contract expiration on Friday. So there was a ton of volatility Friday. So I don't know how we'll see how that plays out this week. Yep. That could explain a lot of the potentially involuntary volume. It could explain. Yeah, it's a good thesis. It could explain a lot of that volume. So I guess we'll have to see this week, right, and see where things go. Angie and Aztec, where do you get all your data from? Do you use Ortex? No. In terms of data, I just have a graphing tool here. It's called Snip, which just helps me chart and move lines around, and colors and all that fun stuff. In terms of the stock data itself, there's some bots you can use. You got like a stock bot, you have options bot. You have Unusual Whale bots is really good. They have some cool data in there. There's different option bots you can use. There's different scanners you can use. You can use like a Finviz. You could use a Webull scanner. You can use Trade Ideas. There's a lot of algorithms out there for you to use. Some are pricey, some aren't. But as I said, I don't really use a lot of bots, or I don't really use many scanners. I really just look at volume and charts. And I try and make an educated sort of move on what's going to happen next. And, that's how I've been trading for years, and it's worked. So I kind of just stick to my basics on that. Hopefully that's helpful. Let's go to Steve, Trade Ideas to Scan. Yeah, as I mentioned, that is a great scanner you can use. Chris Hagedorn, if you were in a Feb expiration swing option and say you were 20% down, are you closing the trade or letting it ride? Good question, Chris. For me, my parameters, my criteria is if I'm swinging options, I typically have a 20-30% stop loss. because I know if I get below 30% down on an option contract or whatever it is for a long period of time, as I continue to go below 30%, 40%, 50%, the odds of that contract then coming back and hitting are just so minimal. The longer, the farther down you go, you're going to need 100, 200, 300% move just to break even. So I like to keep stop losses pretty tight around 20, 30%. Get my capital back, take a breath, and then maybe look for maybe I mistimed the trade, maybe I mistimed the opportunity. Then I look for maybe another trade, take a couple days off on that option, and maybe look for something else. So hopefully that's helpful. That's obviously me, of course. QTIG, Mara. Mara's just been hitting that gap down with crypto itself. Mara is just this is a name that just seems to be getting absolutely smoked. I actually took a super high risk trade on Friday on Coinbase long calls because I just thought it just got so beat up, but I still think there's downside on these names. Mara's at like lows here. The Mara chart's interesting though because there's a nice support line in 2020 at 388. What's this number? Sorry, 469. Where are we at now? 413. Oh, it's even lower. There's maybe another line at what's line? This line 193, $2. There's some strong support on Mara. As well as the right here around 388, $4. So we're right there. And it bounced on 375 a bit, but as I said, if we continue to gap lower, this could go lower. It's all dependent, I think, on Bitcoin and then sort of what's going on in that space. But as I said, when the fear is all-time high, and the fear seems to be all-time high for Bitcoin right now, if you start to see these names sell off 10, 15, 20% a day, multiple days in a row, I'm probably going to step in and try like a long call setup because some of these names I've seen move 20, 30, 40, 50% green in a day, and down as well. So it could be some opportunities, some volatility as a trader. You like that, but you could be trading downside with these names or maybe potentially positioning yourself long-term opportunity as well. So, as I said, the crypto thing has been a little challenging with everything going on with what's his name, SBF or whatever that was. But yeah, so that's that. What else we got? Let's go back here. More questions. Mark Dickerson, fundamental question. Outcome volume doesn't necessarily affect prices. Cosm, which had a high volume 15 days ago without the dramatic price. Sometimes it's just about the price action itself, Mark. As I said, right? Like for example, the Mullen name or CEI. These things are trading hundreds of millions of shares and just not moving. And until you start to see the range gap percentage where it seems maybe like algos are turned on or people are overpaying above the ask and you start to see really strong moves, sometimes you could have a ton of volume. For example, right? Tesla had one of its biggest volume days last week on the year, like 175 million shares. And it really didn't move at all. But clearly there was a huge amount of volume coming in and a huge amount of volume coming out. So you just never know. Sometimes you could be gapping up on on lower volume, just a few million shares or etc. So it really just depends on that day on the price action. That's why price action so vital and important to see these sort of setups and trends. Okay, let's see. Sniper Trader, do you think the biotech mania is over in small caps? Biotech has been beaten down, but it also been sort of hot in the larger biotech. Large biotech has outperformed the market this year in terms of the SPY, QQQ, and the Dow Jones. There's been a lot of really strong outperformers in biotech space for sort of that big pharma area. You got Pfizer and Moderna. A lot of those names have had some major runs. BMY, Biogen this year, I believe, had a big run. So there's a lot of these names with big runs. So it could trickle down the small caps. There are, I'm sure, a lot of M&A transactions that could be maybe happening in the next couple of years from some of these small cap biotechs that maybe. And I'm selling small cap biotechs. I'm thinking like 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 million market caps, not the stuff that's like 5, 10 million, etc. But yeah, I'd keep an eye. And there's been a lot of data news. There's a lot of health conferences as well. And a lot of these biotech have some conferences and they move off of that stuff. So it's a very sort of gray area, gray field to invest in per se, but it's a great area to trade. I love trading biotechs. I just never hold them overnight. That's my number one rule. I obviously just day trade, scalp them. Andy Huno, it would be cool to show us live trading once a month with the group. Yeah, I try. I've done a couple live sessions where Thursday, Friday, I've traded some options and stuff, and it was fun. Everyone had a good time, but it's tough to do both. And I always try to give my real time analysis on where the markets are going, or what may happen, and just reading charts, etc. So usually that's pretty good enough. Okay, thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Angie. Thank you. No problem, guys. Mike, thank you. T. Krosner, do you trade this SPX? No, I mostly just trade just the SPY itself. SPX, I mean, it's the same thing for me now that you could do like every day. I think in the SPY, SPX was really good if you just traded just the day. But what's the ideal stop loss on intraday options? Typically on intraday options, I'm going really small size if I'm trading them. Chasm. This is Chasm Shaniba's question. Sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Chasm Shanaba. What's the stop loss on intraday options? I typically, if I'm using really small size, I'll probably put like a 30, 40, 50% stop loss on that. So if I put, 2, 3, 4K in an option, I'll probably have a 50% stop loss on it, because if it goes below the 50, it's probably pretty likely that option intraday, of course, can maybe go to zero. So I try and do that as well. 30, 40, 50% is usually my thing. If I'm using tiny size, if once in a million years I'm using some strong size and an intraday option expiration, my stop loss would be about 10%, depending on what you're trading. Awesome trader Fedor, no problem. Shane Miller. Okay. Awesome, guys. So I got through all the questions. Hopefully it was a great session. Do hit the like button, share with friends, family, coworkers, etc. Obviously, I put in hours of time to prep for you guys. I'm here for you guys. I'm doing this obviously for one, myself. I get to learn, and then have the numbers come naturally to me throughout the week, because I obviously prep so much time for these sessions. But it really helps in terms of studying, and you start to feel things through the monitors. You start to see the price action. You see the trades take place. You see where it can go up or down. And when you get to really good at reading the tape, sort of reading the ticker movements and stuff, trading just going to become a little bit more easier for you. And that's how it has for me over the years, and that's sort of how I look at things. So let's trade well this week. It's going to be probably pretty volatile. There's going to be some more big volume, I think, tomorrow and Tuesday. Then maybe things start to slow into the holiday, as it typically does every year. So I'll be looking to trade pretty actively Monday through Wednesday, and then sort of just kind of hanging it up. Maybe trading very light, if none, going into the end of the weekend, into next week. So awesome, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the session. As a member, you guys can always come join the Discord. You could follow me on some social aspects. I'm always posting charts and predictions and stuff like that. So cheers, guys. King Cobra, yes, I can show my trade setup again with the monitors and stuff for sure. Awesome, guys. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Enjoy some football and whatever sports you guys watch. And hopefully the video was great. And let's get after it this week. Cheers, everybody. Take care.